What's up, YouTubians? Gary, VW Jawbreaker. Welcome back to another video where today we're back on an engine. So I've got a 1641 here from a good friend of mine, and unfortunately he's got some head problems. So all we're going to do to this engine is pretty much just swap the heads, push rod tubes, verify compression ratio. But it's a 1641 Engel 100 cam. It's a great little bus motor. And we've got, of course, before we get started, use my favorite product, some Super Clean. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything cleaned up, degreased, ready to go. We can drop on these bad boys here. Right there, we got a set of CB Performance Panchito heads. Bit of Autolina castings. These are beautiful. We'll definitely check those out here shortly. But before we get started, we need to degrease. I want to start with a clean work slate. So let's go ahead and spray her on and get her going. Yeah, much better. Very clean. For very minimal work, you really can't ask for much more. Sprayed it on, let it sit for 3-4 minutes. Lightly hit it with a brush. Very lightly hit it with a brush. And that was pretty much it. Hose it down. We got an oil-free workspace. So now, I'll go ahead and get it in the garage, start tearing into it. I should probably specify, this particular friend is more than capable of doing the work. However, with his work schedule and other things going on in his life, he does not have the time. Ordered the parts, pulled the motor, and it just kind of sat. We were talking one day and he was like, man, can you help me out? Who am I to turn down a friend, right? Especially a good friend. So this is what we're doing. So here we go. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, here are your CB Performance Panchito heads. Let's compare them. These are a very nice head. All your exhaust studs, all that stuff come with it. Very nice set of heads. These are an 044 Panchito. These are 40 by 35.5 valves, stainless steel. It's got the heavy duty valve springs, chromoly keepers. Definitely a nice head. Everything, I mean, look at the casting down there. Looks absolutely great. See all the way through. Oh, there we go. See all the way through. All the fins are nice. These are really a beautiful head. I mean, if you compare apples to oranges here, that's a nice difference over stock. Really is. The way that kind of just flows versus stock. Yeah. So this will really give them some nice horsepower increase. And for the money, you just cannot go wrong. All right, so he believes, I want to say it was this side here. We had a problem with one of the rockers. We think it might be a valve seat issue. Not sure. Let's pull the valve cover. Oh, that came off real easy. So it might not be this side. Oh, yeah, it is. That adjuster right there is pretty much all the way out. There's no adjuster left. Okay, well, we'll double check it, see what's going on. First, we got to pull the heads. So that's what we'll do. Oh, not too bad. A little bit of carbon, but looks real good. Cylinders look good. Not sure how many miles are on it. I know he drives it. Here is the head. So again, this is a stock Volkswagen casting head. Easiest way to tell if you have an issue with, let's say, a valve seat sinking, right? So if your valve seat starts to sink, right, it's going to go this way more and it's going to be harder to adjust your valves, right? So easiest way to tell is, let's put a straight edge. You can see You got a gap. You got a decent gap. Actually, this one right here, I don't know if the camera is going to allow it. Hold on. I don't know if the camera is going to allow it or not, but actually you can kind of see both exhaust valves sticking out a little bit more. So it looks like all the seats started to sink a little bit, except for, I'm sorry, the intakes, exhausts. Pardon me. So the two inner ones are intakes, the two outer ones are exhausts. It looks like the two intakes actually started to mess up a little bit. Interesting. Interesting. And that's cylinder 1 and 2, not even 3 and 4. So sometimes those older heads, you know, you get a lot of miles and stuff on them, they just eventually start giving up the ghost. But that's all right. We got new heads. We'll get this guy up and running. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and tear down the other side, see what we have. And then I want to do deck height and see what our deck height is, see what the old head CC at, see where the new head CC at, so we can figure out what the original compression ratio was versus new compression ratio. Figure out if we need to make any type of changes or anything, or let it ride. We'll leave that up to him. So, tear this side down, deck height on both sides, CC old heads, CC new heads. We'll take you along the ride and we'll show you that. All right, both heads off. Cross hatching looks good. Everything looks good. Here's your 3-4 head, because there's your 1-2. And we have a similar issue on this head where they're just starting to sink. Interesting that it's the intakes and not the exhaust. Very interesting. However, I think his biggest issue, here's his 1-2 or the 3-4 side. You see the adjusters all look pretty good. Little mangled, but here's the other side. Intakes are really mangled, especially that one. Almost looks like part of it broke off. So that might have been more of his problem than the actual heads. But yeah, still, I mean, those are starting to have some issues. All right, let's go ahead and CC the head just so we kind of know where we're at, so we have a starting point. So I've got my disc, I've got my little syringe, got exactly 60 cc's of water in there. So all we'll do now is go ahead and start filling this up. Spark plug has to be in. So as soon as we start, we need to work the air bubble out, just kind of rock it back and forth a little bit, try to get it level. There we go. A little more and she'll be full. There we go, we're about full. Air bubbles are out. We're right at, there's the 10 mark, there's the 9 mark, and this was 60 cc full. So if we subtract the 60 from 9, we have a 51 cc head. So now that we know that, I put a plug in the other one, spark plug that is, and go ahead and see what the other one CC's at. All right, we are reset on our syringe to 60 cc's. So let's go ahead and figure out what we got on this one. I have a feeling it's gonna be bigger. Place your bets. What do we got? Not much. That's actually 55 cc's. So we're 51, 52 versus 55. We're 3-4 cc's off. That is absolutely nothing. Awesome. So at least we know the heads are close. So now we'll go ahead and check deck height. Slide on our plate here. Spacers on a washer. I personally never do more than just 2. Could do all 4 studs, but you're just trying to make sure it's snug down. So now that that's on there, we've got it to top dead center, number 3, since this is the number 3 cylinder. We've got our feeler gauges. You could do it other ways. I like using feeler gauges so I can kind of feel what's going on. 30 thou, nice and loose. Let's jump up to 50, which would be a 30 and a 20. See, and your teacher said you'd never use math once you grow up. All right, got a little drag there, so let's run up, drop the 20, get a 25, which would then give us 55 thousandths. All right, so we got a 30 and a 25, which is 55 thousandths. Rock it on top dead center some. It's got some drag, but not much. I mean, I know we have some carbon buildup, but it's not a lot. I think we're right about there. Let's try 58 thou. Yeah, I can't get 58 in there. That's too tight. So we've got 55 thousandths deck height. And what we need to do now is go ahead and verify all cylinders, measure the same. I like doing that. It's just a little OCD on my end, but it doesn't hurt to check, right? Now, one thing you can do if you don't want to use feeler gauges is go ahead and grab yourself a dial indicator and measure your thickness of your plate. Get it to right where it is. Take this, rotate it around until you get to 0. That way it's locked in at 0. And then you can measure your deck height that way. Gonna rock it back and forth till you get it to where you need it. And then right there you go. You're at about 58 thousandths, just like we measured on the other side. So that means all four are at 55 thousandths, not 58. So there you go, right about, actually this one measures about 56 thousandths. So we're 1 thousandths off between this side and that side. No big deal. So the case is square, everything's good. We'll be all right. Next task, we need to make sure that these are perfectly flat, flush. How we're going to do that is actually take an old jug. We're going to lap in the cylinder. So we're just going to actually sit there and rotate it around with some lapping compound and verify that this surface right here is flat. I did take a straight edge and make sure this is flat each way. Normally you would take cylinder 1, the jug from cylinder 1 to cylinder 1. However, we're not pulling the jugs and pistons off of that engine. So we'll do it this way. And all you really need, just a little bit, goes a long way. That was way too much. Oh well, it's already on. What we're looking for is an even distribution, even surface all the way around with no gaps. So as you can see, there's an even all the way around. There's no gaps anywhere, so that is good. We'll go ahead and rinse and repeat and do the rest. So with the push rods, I like to take a 13mm socket, stick it inside, just expand it out just a tad, keeping it as straight as possible. Make sure we get plenty of bite, plenty of tension when we put the head on. You only need to do one side. Again, it only needs to come out a little bit. Some people do it, some people don't. I prefer to. Now with your pushrod tube seals, be careful putting them on. This lip can cut you. Just need to put one on each side. Alright, before we put the head on, I want to make sure our air deflector is still in place. Again, we did not pull the cylinders or the jugs. I would normally tilt the engine more, however, it still has oil in it, so we ain't going to tilt it that much. We'll start that. I like to take the pushrod tubes and just some oil. Lube them up a little bit. Little goes a long way, don't need much. Lube them up. Now you do have a seam, if you notice here, on the pushrod tube. You always want that seam to face up, so if for some reason this would leak, there's really no way it can leak pointing up versus if it was pointing down or to the side. Always point the seam up, good practice. We're going to make sure all of our seams are pointing up, just to verify, make sure. Now these 4 studs on the inside, I like to put a little bit of sealant around the washer. That just helps ensure there no oil is going to seep past. And it's one of those things, a little bit goes a long way. So just a little smear around the edge. Nothing dramatic, nothing a lot. So you do have a specific torque sequence. So you want to start in the middle, then work the outside on your first pass, then increase your final torque, and then crisscross like you normally would. Right now we're just going to run them down, snug them. So I like to start off around 12 foot-pounds for your first pass. And then we'll go to the final torque. All right, in order to put in the rocker studs, we're going to go ahead and run a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads. And now we'll go ahead and put our O-rings down there. Pretty sure these take it, these heads. I don't know. They got the boss for them. Then drop push rods. And now we need to go ahead and clean up, put in our new adjusters. So with these adjusters, all we're going to do is just take them off. So you can definitely tell those are kind of worn compared to the new ones there. Now, granted, those new ones are aftermarket, but they'll do the job. All we're going to do is just run these in until they hit the bottom, right about there. Start that. That's it. We're going to adjust the valves anyway. So now we can go ahead and put our rocker on. Go ahead and get everything lined up, push rods lined up. Now, he did not have washers on these, so we'll go ahead and put some factory wavy washers on there. One side down, one side to go. Well, that wasn't too bad, you know, minor hiccup here and there, but that's just how things go. Do me a favor, whatever you do, when you're putting your rockers on, do not use the little nuts, the nylock nuts that come with the rebuild kits that you would normally use for your case hardware. All right, you normally use these here. Do not use these. These are actually a very softer metal than what normally comes like with the Volkswagen hardware. These are a harder grade than these. These will strip, especially if you're running a high lift cam, ratio rockers, or anything like that. Do not use these. If you don't have these, run a head stud nut. Now it's going to be a 15 millimeter instead of 13, but these will work a lot better and last 10 times longer than these. I just made those numbers up, but you know what I mean. So for the most part, we're pretty much squared away. The only thing we need to do is run through the valves, and once we run through the valves, we'll go ahead and put valve covers on. I got new valve cover gaskets for them. We went ahead and put in those replacement adjusters because that one, well, that one wasn't horrible, but one of these was broken, and that's what part of his problem was. The other part of his problem, honestly, is he's friends with me, but that's besides the point. Oh, and before anybody says anything, Gary, why'd you Loctite those studs? You should never do that. Well, maybe, maybe not. Can you read that? All studs are loose. Make sure to Loctite and tighten all studs. That's from CB Performance. So, what do? We follow their direction. It's pretty simple. All right, let's run through some valves real quick. Be about wrapped up. To adjust the valves, all we need to do is bring up top dead center cylinder 1, flathead, 13 millimeter, and we'll go ahead and get these adjusted to where they need to be. Now we'll rotate it over backwards to bottom dead center, and we'll do cylinder 2. Now we'll rotate to the other side and do the same thing. Now, one last thing we're going to do before we button it up is go ahead and take some oil. I want to oil up everything real good since this is all brand new. Doesn't hurt. Give them some brand new valve cover gaskets there. Bam. Well, that's it. It's getting late. Getting ready to storm. Look at that. Looks like most of it's going around us. I don't care. We need the rain, but that's all right. His engine's all together, squared away. I like to write on there what it is. So we got a 1641 W100 cam at 7.5 to 1 compression ratio. So I'll go ahead and shoot him a text, let him know this is done, is ready to go. And that's about it. So I hope this video is able to help you out a little bit, maybe answer a few questions, or maybe help you move along through your project. All right? The only thing you can do is get out there and try. If you're not 100% sure, ask questions. Most of us are happy to help one another. It's one of the reasons this hobby is so great. Most people enjoy helping one another. It's what I do. So, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you check out the links below. We got Amazon affiliate stuff. We've got some discount codes at vwjawbreaker.com. We've also got in every description of every video some other amazing people to follow as well, in no particular order. So, till the next time, guys, be kind to one another and be good.